Hi, my name is Genesis Perez. I'm the bookstore and programs assistant here at Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center, and it is my honor to welcome you. It is my honor to welcome you to the Wanda Coleman Theater. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Tongva, Tataviam, and Chumash people. Our Indigenous communities have endured violence and colonialism, and we as an organization seek not only to honor their histories as the original stewards of this land, but to support Indigenous communities and their futures. Beyond Baroque is a place dedicated to the possibilities of language, founded in 1968 by George Jury Smith. We started out as an experimental literary magazine until it evolved into the interdisciplinary space that you see today. The building itself first served as the original Venice City Hall, and since the late 70s, we have been a home for artists and writers. We continue to offer our free Monday night fiction workshop with Raquel Baker and our Wednesday night poetry workshop led by poet Martin Yago. Both workshops happen weekly, virtually, over Zoom, and once again, both are free. So you can always find more information about those workshops and any upcoming in-person workshops on our website. We also have lots of events coming up. We have more book launches and celebrations happening next week, but on July 25th, we're really excited to host a salsa and poetry fundraiser. Oh yeah. We're talking, and some of you might be thinking, I got 2 left feet. I don't know about that. We will have salsa and bachata instructions by professional instructors. So please join us for some dancing, for some poetry, and for just a beautiful evening here to help support our programming and all of the amazing things that you see. And if you like Beyond Baroque, you like what you see here, you like what you see next week, and you want to help this space thrive, you can support Beyond Baroque by becoming a member. Memberships start at $75, and they come with perks such as free or discounted admission to most programs, as well as discounts on workshops and other events. We really appreciate all of our community members who continue to come through for us year after year after year. We're coming on 68 years of existence, and we really couldn't do it without our amazing community. And before we begin the program, I really want to thank our Beyond Baroque team. We have Eric in the booth. We have Jimmy, our executive director, Yvonne, our programs manager, Rhiannon, Annika, Zoe, Jody, and our new intern, Grace, in the bookstore. So please go show her some love after this. I'm so excited for tonight's launch. Ray's new book is incredible, and it's so exciting to get to launch a new book with an incredible writer. But before we begin the reading portion, we do have a video from the 40th anniversary of Proyecto Pastoral, and this will serve as an introduction to the community that inspired the collection that we are celebrating tonight. So I'll step off stage for a moment, we'll all watch this video together, and then the readings will begin. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
One value that has stayed true for the last 40 years in our community is love in action. I don't think we would be here without love. And I think that continues to be the case to this day. Proyecto Pastoral started back in the late 80s in response to needs that our community was facing through the lens of mothers that really wanted to make a difference in our community and wanted something better for everybody's children. You know, they planted seeds not knowing what it would grow into, and now you look at all of these different programs that are helping our whole community.
Antes de ir a Proyecto Pastoral, estaba sobreviviendo día a día. Éramos pobres. Mi hijo empezó a hacer drogas, se metía en problemas y me corrieron de donde estaba viviendo por 5 años. Y ya, pues, eso fue muy triste y doloroso para mí. Cuando llegué, no me hicieron sentir como un problema ni una carga, sino me hicieron sentir como una persona que soy. Ahorita estoy feliz por todas estas bendiciones que he recibido. Este lugar lo tengo gracias al shelter del Proyecto Pastoral, que me consiguieron este lugar para vivir tranquila.
What I've always admired of Proyecto and the staff and the community is how we respond whenever there's a need. It is a sacred space because I think every woman that comes here is here for a reason. And so we want to make sure that any woman that feels unsafe, that feels like they've been invisible and living in the shadows, that they find a way home.
Ahora que tengo estabilidad, puedo pensar en el futuro.
I came to Proyecto when I was 18 years old. I kind of was lost a little bit. My mom died when I was a little girl, like not having that support system. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And they took me in. They didn't know anything about my background. And somehow they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And they keep pushing me. This May, I'm gonna graduate with my master's in social work, and they gave me that here. I was able to find a purpose, a family here, Proyecto Pastoral. There's a reason why I'm still here. I wanna make sure like others have that support system.
Proyecto has grown in areas where we've been needed. We have 5 different programs. Our early child education centers, where we serve children 18 months to 5 years old to prepare them for kindergarten. Our second program, the Guadalupe Homeless Project,
We provide beds, dinner, a place to stay, a sense of belonging.
in addition to the shelters, we have Comunidad Movimiento, which continues to create safe passage for all of our kids to make sure they get to and from school safely. Impacto, which is our youth development program that has after-school programming, sports and recreation, academic case management at local schools. And then the fifth program from us at Boyle Heights is to make sure that we were walking with children from cradle to grave.
Es bonito que haya personas todavía de buen corazón que te pueden dar la mano cuando más lo necesitas. Nos levanta del peligro en la calle, hacen a las personas que se sientan protegidas. Es importante sí para la comunidad.
40 years in, our promise is the same. We stay close. We do not give up. We look forward to 40 more years of building together with this beautiful community.
Thank you, Proyecto. Happy birthday, Proyecto.
Feliz cumpleaños.
Happy anniversary.
Happy birthday. I love Proyecto.
Feliz 40 años.
Proyecto Pastoral.
And with that, I am excited to announce our first reader of the evening. William Archila is the winner of the 2023 Philip Levine Prize for Poetry for his collection S is For, a finalist for the California Book Award. He is the author of The Art of Exile and The Gravedigger's Archaeology. His new collection, Panicula Dog Days, is a bilingual selection of his first 2 books of poetry. He was awarded the 2023 Jack Hazard Fellowship. His work has appeared in AG, NI, APR, Coppernickel, the Georgia Review, Kenyon Review, New Ohio Review, Prairie Schooner, Poetry, Plowshares, Poetry Northwest, Pallades, Tri-Quarterly, and the Anthology, Latino Poetry, the Library of American Anthology. He is an associate editor at the Martillo Press. Please, everybody, may I have a round of applause for William.
Buenas noches. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. This thing is always too far away from me. Thank you for joining us and for coming to celebrate Ray Rodríguez' debut. Congratulations. It's also a pleasure to be here reading with Jose Hernandez Diaz and Lorna Dee Cervantes. I'll be reading from my new book, Canicula, which is a bilingual collection of my first two books, The Art of Exile and The Grave Digger's Archaeology. Let me see if I can find my poem. Here it is. So this is this poem is, rather than ending in a destination, it's the journey itself becomes the act of survival and resilience. Pilgrimage. When the LA River rolls along the freeways, torn, trashing waves slapping against concrete, cold echo of the wind moving among trees, I'll walk back to Sonsonate. When the late sun leaves palm trees sound asleep, ragged, dusty branches without fruit or shade or the full throat of a bird, I'll take off my shoes and walk back to Sonsonate. The night I hang these shoes over the telephone wires, swinging to the clank, pop, stop, and go rhythms and moans of the traffic, I'll walk back. I'll walk back when the moon drops into Echo Park Lake. Pale finger dime making a schleppy sound, long blades of grass rising out of freeway cracks. By the time the fall of the rain breaks into the streets, washes the gray film of smoke, all the gasoline of the night down the gutter, I'll take off my hat, walk back to Sonsonate. When the city falls at my feet, its architecture collapsing to its knees, weight of cars cooling in the heat, I'll pack my bones, head back to Sonsonate, down a road of coffee beans, old broken down guitars. Thank you. So I heard that Beyond Baroque recently had a reading about Garcia Lorca. And I was like, damn, I wasn't invited for that? Because I have a Garcia Lorca poem. So I'm like, I want to read it today. Poet in New York. Actually, this is a, it's, some poems are conversations that arrive too late to hear. And this is one of them. Poet in New York. I often think of you sitting on a box by a fire under the Brooklyn Bridge, chatting about the Spain of the Arabs, a band of black men moaning the spiral blues of a train. It's you, Federico, in a black suit and white shirt, face of a moon, black like a dog, your shoes torn, still dusty from the road where you fell without a vigil, without gypsies strumming their guitars. This is the bell of the hour, the dead yellow husk of corn. This is the wreckage of insects that drowns in the inkwell, the rooster of rooftops choking down its philosophers. I want to stay here, standing in front of you, exchanging the dirt in our pockets, songs we carry from our countries, words we lacked to cut a hole in the cornfield, bury the women and men with a spoon, the childhood of balconies, moons, and clocks we have lost. Before I read the next poem, I want to say, I'd like to say that the new book, Canicula, is an attempt to write towards memory, both personal and collective. It asks what remains after violence, what language recovers, and how a place continues to live inside us even after we left it. I'm going to read the Spanish version first, and then the English. And this I'm only going to read section 4 from a poem called After Ashes. Aquí es exactamente donde quiero estar, donde el viento sopla contra la casa y las tuberías de metal entre las paredes tosen y gimen. El silbido lejano de un tren atraviesa la ciudad. Es aquí, entre el abrirse y el cerrarse de la boca de la noche, que yo escribo. Las paredes que quedan de una iglesia. La caligrafía rota del arco, derrumbado, sepultado en humo. Es aquí, entre los últimos túmulos de ceniza negra, que escribo una palabra, una frase, la tacho, hasta que veo un país tan pequeño que tu dedo índice puede cubrirlo en un mapa escolar. Todos los cuerpos arrojados y desplomados en el pantano de una barranca. Los que fueron encerrados en una tumba oscura de raíces y rocas. Son míos. Las mujeres y los hombres que usan los mismos zapatos, juntan las mismas palabras, aprenden el alfabeto como un simple cálculo matemático. Devuélvanmelos. Antes de que levanten palos y piedras, antes de que me haga viejo y ya no esté aquí. Thank you. The English version will go faster. This is exactly where I want to be, where the wind blows against the house, metal pipes between walls that cough and groan, faint whistle of a train that pulls across the city. It's here between the opening and closing mouth of night that I write the remaining walls of a church, the broken calligraphy of the ark, collapsed, buried in smoke. It's here among the burial mounds of black ash that I write a word, a sentence, scratch it out till I see a country so small your index finger can cover it on a school map. All the bodies dumped and slumped in the swamp of a ravine, those cooped in a dark grave of roots and rocks. They're mine. The women and men who wear the same shoes, gather the same words, learn the alphabet like a simple mathematical calculation, give them back before they raise sticks and stones, before I am old and no longer here. Thank you. There's 2 more poems I'd like to read. Here. So, I'm originally from El Salvador, so I have never heard of John Coltrane. So when I came to this country, it took me about 7 years. Like I was in high school when I first listened to John Coltrane, and it felt like a kind of freedom, in the playing of the music. I didn't know back then, but I think listening to John Coltrane for me was a form of healing coming from the war, the Civil War in El Salvador. So it was like restarting the world again for me. And in this poem, I attempted to take John Coltrane's approach to music, which for him is kind of like like it took all that time to get everything in. If you know John Coltrane, you know he's got a lot of notes and his songs are very long. So, you know, and as opposed to Miles Davis, whose approach to music is more like, what can I leave out? You know? So it always reminded me of like Walt Whitman and Emily Dickinson. You know, Walt Whitman with like Song of Myself with like 20-something pages, and Emily Dickinson writing this very short poem. So I was like, oh my God, the comparison is too much. Anyway, so here we go. On first listening to Coltrane, I loved him, full body wail of a tenor, large and round, his crooked fingers on brass, choking the hollow horn with God caught in his throat, the way he pushed a mountain into his saxophone. It hit me like 100 iron wheels steamed down the tracks, cold driven, rolling solid to the tongue of night, darker than tar, grinding thoughts into sounds. Gush of phrases that spiral forward, climb the tip of the way about to uncurl, spiral back, plunge and collapse into this note, blessed and obsessed, perfect in the palm of my hand, touched by the earth, wet and small, dust and bones, the heavy weight of corn, the wind that comes wrapped in fish and salt, the cry of the crow high above the row where he stands spindly as a tree, the cymbal splash of sunlight, the horn blaring, you think he's cracking a branch, hooked in the river, green and growing, leaves scary with the current, twirling, black and swollen, bobbing along the line he plays again, until the branch finally snaps, the driftwood swelling along the bark, waves reflecting the bed of rock, and then rain, the falling pins of rain, the river that runs to the shore. Thank you. I'm going to end with, from my book, Essays 4, with the disheveled sonnet, which is, you know, it's not a pure sonnet, basically. Thank you for being here. There's so many things to be doing, right? Nowadays, thank you for coming out for poetry. That's wonderful. It always amazes me that people still come out for poetry. You know, you can stay home streaming, right? You can be watching the World Cup right now. My God, and you're here to listen to us read poetry. That's amazing. Right? I'm sorry, Messi. Posting, boasting, 80 rounds from an officer, burning, looting. The line of a miner always leads to a line of corpses. Segregated schools, segregated hoods. Not enough money in the bank for representation, for a voice, for commercial. Be mindful of Minutemen, pilgrims, unidentified men on Hinge who donate money to old white men in suits executing laws. Take note of drug trafficking with the pistol of a teenage assassin. Pay attention to his invisible hoodie stitched to his head. Try to count backwards. Try days swollen and cracked backwards. Try School of the Americas in Georgia. Try Atlacatel Battalion. Try City Hall. Try the coroner's log. Be vigilant of the government as the ghost of God, including Michelangelo and his cadavers. Also taking care of other people's babies, cry babies, and shit loaders. Wiping, mopping. What else? What else makes you disappear? Thank you.
Let's go one more round of applause for William. Our next reader is Jose Hernandez Diaz. He is a 2017 NEA Poet Fellow. He is the author of The Fire Eater, Bad Mexican, Bad American, The Parachutist, Portrait of the Artist as a Brown Man, and the forthcoming The Lighthouse Tattoo. He has been a visiting assistant professor at the University of California, Riverside, and a visiting writer in residence at the University of Tennessee, and he also used to host our weekly poetry workshop. Please, everyone, give it up for Jose Hernandez Diaz.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Can you hear me in the back? All right, perfect. Congratulations to Ray on publishing the book, and I'm excited to get a copy and a great cause as well. Great to see that video, and it's great to be here reading with William and Lorna. You know, when I was an undergrad at UC Berkeley, I transferred from Cerritos College, and I had a class with Alfred Archila, Chicano poet from Whittier, and RIP, and he had Lorna come in, and so it's kind of full circle moment here. And I'm going to start by reading from Bad Mexican, Bad American, and the name of this prose poem is called The Stranger, and it was published in the Yale Review, and it was one of the top, I guess, read poems on that website that year. That was 2022. The Stranger. A man came up to me as I was walking home from the pharmacy. Are you Jose Hernandez Diaz? Yes, I said. Who's asking? Do you enjoy sipping tea before bedtime? Well, I do, but what is it to you? I asked. In the 9th grade, did you get cut from the basketball team? I did, in fact, get cut from the team. Do you sometimes wonder what life would have been like had you married Madro Cisneros? Maybe sometimes, yes, I said. Are you afraid of small talk and long walks in the city? I'm just a little introverted, I said. Does the night sky resemble a dragon of your dreams? Yes, thank you for asking, I said. Did you cry when Muncie hit that home run in the World Series? I did cry at that moment, proud of it. Were you born and raised back and forth between LA and Orange County? Story of my life, yes, I said. Does the night sky resemble a dragon of your dreams? Yes, thank you for asking, yes. And the next prose poem I'm going to read is called Voice. A man in a Carlos Santana shirt looked for his voice beneath the pile of crisp autumn leaves. Nothing. He looked for his voice at an underground rooster fight. Nothing. The man in the Carlos Santana shirt picked up a bulldog puppy and looked for his voice inside the dog's mouth. Nothing. Finally, the man in the Carlos Santana shirt saw a used black guitar in a thrift store window. He purchased the guitar with his last few dollars. The man tuned the guitar and began to play a bolero. His voice was there, as it turns out, inside of the guitar sound hole. It had been there all along. And this next prose poem, speaking of messy, is called I Wasn't Lionel Messi. I turned the calendar in my downtown apartment and it was New Year's Day. I had somehow forgotten my entire past, childhood included. I didn't even recall my name. Was it David? I looked like a David with my pious haircut. Was it David de la Cruz? No, it wasn't. Ronaldo? Leonardo? Leo? Was I Lionel Messi? No, I wasn't. I was, though, in denial, perhaps of some accentuated failures. My inability to study law, my languid approach to language, my longing for prima ballerinas and tenured professors in the humanities or poetry, Western philosophy, aka the depressive arts. No, I would never be Lionel Messi. I had never scored 2 goals against France. Try as I did. Last time I was here, I was not able to stand at all, so little by little. Thank you, appreciate it. This next prose poem is called Bilingual Jingle. I speak 2 languages, one of them fluently. The other I'm improving daily if I remember to study. I practice by singing along to epic rancheras about lost romance and decaying rosas. Also, sometimes I'll read modernist Spanish poetry about fractured skies and Pablo Picasso's crooked eyes. I love the Spanish language when a beautiful woman tells me, "Querido, te quiero mucho, muchísimo, queridísimo." I could hear that all day. If I were a Spanish Baroque painter like Diego Velázquez, I'd paint better than I sing in Spanish, which would be pretty damn good because I'm a celebrated singer. Sunday night karaoke nights at the local Mariscos Cantina are always lit. I was telling Ray, that's actually my mom who does that, goes to the karaoke on the weekend, so I kind of threw that in there as persona. No, I'm not brave enough to do that. This next one here, since we're in Venice, it's called The Summer I Was Good Friends with Salvador Dali and Diego Maradona. True story. I was having coffee with Salvador Dali and Diego Maradona at a hippie coffee shop in Venice Beach one summer. Dali insisted on having black tea. He said he already is drugs or something subversive. They both said I sounded American. Well, I was born in America, I tell them, but I'm Latino, Mexican-American, I say. I asked Dali who his favorite soccer team is. La Barcelona, he says, as he examines the marigolds on the coffee table. I asked Maradona who is his favorite painter. La Frida Kahlo, he says. After we finish our coffees, we walk along the Venice coast. Suddenly, Maradona dives into the ocean. He swims alongside a dolphin and a local surfer. Dali and I laugh out loud. Later, we lay on the sand and watch the sunset. At the end of the night, the moon comes up like a seagull on a street lamp. We go to the local bar called The Clam and talk politics and literature with local lady surfers. I tell them my name is Roberto Duran, former world champion. We have a good laugh as we drink our Mexican beers and dance the night away to cumbias. So that's it from that one. And then a couple more. This next one is called Cuauhtémoc Xochipilli. A jaguar sat in the tree. It was midsummer. The sun was shining fiercely. The jaguar was a golden color with plenty of brown spots. Then the ghost of Emiliano Zapata walked by. He was in full uniform with rifle and sword, but black and white. But in black and white, he looked like a cloud. The jaguar leapt from the tree and walked up to Zapata's ghost. The jaguar genuflected in General Zapata's direction. Zapata pulled out his sword and knighted the jaguar. From this day forward, this noble jaguar will be called Cuauhtémoc Xochipilli, he said. The sun faded and set. It began to rain. And this next one and the previous one were published in Poetry Magazine. And this next one is called The Jaguar and the Mango. A mango fell from a tree into a jaguar's paws. It was late summer. The jaguar devoured the fruit and ran into the ocean. The ocean was turquoise like the August sky. The jaguar swam underwater for a few minutes. It smiled beneath the waves. Later, the clouds began to form. The sun became veiled by the clouds. It began to rain. The jaguar swam a little more, but then exited the water. It walked back to the jungle for 20 minutes in the rain. When the jaguar arrived on its turf, it climbed up a tree and fell asleep. The moon looked like a summer mango. So this is the last one. Thanks for your time. And like William said, thank you for being here for some poetry tonight. Go Messi. The tattoo of Moctezuma. A man got a tattoo of Moctezuma, the last fully independent ruler of the Aztec Empire. In the tattoo artwork, Moctezuma has on an elaborate headdress with golden covering and iridescent green quetzal feathers. He also has a shield in the tattoo for a battle he can't win. Moctezuma has a lengthy, strong spear. The skin of Moctezuma is dark brown, like the man's skin color. The man gets the tattoo on his forearm to show strength. On the other forearm, he has a tattoo of Hernán Cortés with a sword to show symmetry. Thank you.
Get a little bit more applause for Jose. Let's watch me break this very expensive piece of equipment. Always like this close to doing it too. Our next reader is Lorna Dee Cervantes. She is the author of Implumada, From the Cables of Genocide, Ciento, Drive, and April on Olympia. Awarded NEA fellowships, pushcart prizes, a Lila Wallace, state arts grants, and Best Book Awards. The founder of Mango Publications, the first to publish Sanders Cisneros. Cervantes presented at the Library of Congress, Dodge Poetry Festival, Walker Art Center, New Yorkin Poets Cafe, and others. She is a former professor of English and director of writing at CU Boulder for 20 years. She writes in Seattle. Please, everyone, a round of applause.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ray, for this. Thank you especially for the support of Proyecto Pastoral. I'm a girl who could have benefited from Proyecto Pastoral. I didn't have that growing up in Barrio Horseshoe in San Jose. Instead, I had a librarian. So I won't, who let me check out any book I wanted in the adult section from the time I was 8 years old. So I don't call myself a street kid, although I was very much a street kid. Instead, I call myself a library kid. So I'm going to read some new and old personal poems, autobiographical poems. This one, I quote the first line of this poem in a section of poems in my new book, Fire, Poems Against Pandemic, forthcoming from El Martillo Press, same publisher as Ray. California Plum. For Nathan Trujillo, discovered frozen to death in a public restroom in Boulder, Colorado, February 3rd, 1992, and identified only as a derelict. California Plum. I suppose I was a derelict. I was a derelict's kid. I succumbed to man, and minotaurs were a thing of the past, not in my vocabulary. I knew the trees, the fruit, the sweep the fences in my neighborhood to get me there where dogs and men can't reach. I beat the boys and made them cry. I joined their gangs. No initiation could deter me. Oh, yeah, I know where the tracks go, how to catch it going south, what to carry, who to talk to, what size jar of instant coffee will get you into camp, how to walk like a child of a maid, go inside the starred hotels, the wallpaper-lined inns. At 10 a.m., the leftovers line the hallways. Ham and omelette, waffle, cutlet, biscuit, gravy. I filled my skirt with jam and ate through noon. I judged my troops by the content of their refrigerator. Only ones with working moms could pass. And oh, my literate acquaintances, my bums and babblers hanging in the stacks. I suppose I'm just like they are, dry inside at last, pumping the poems of Pushkin, Poe, and papers by the racks. I sat in there most every day, whoring, working hours away. I know the open places, graves, the cemetery gate, the only one we're allowed to cross without eviction. Idle tears will get you anywhere, said Tennyson. You can read it in our clothes, in clunky shoes and hand-me-nots, the stabs, the odds of ever reaching our normality. I'd say I was a derelict. I was a derelict's kid. And from the new book, Fire, Poems Against Pandemic. Hobos. When I was a young girl, I wanted to be a hobo, a hallelujah bum, a handout queen. I was an almost shoeless Chiquita, but without the banana skirt. A hobo seemed a glorious thing to be, a go-anywhere person, so unlike the young girl me. All day in the towering tomatoes, I sang about a girl, gentle on my mind. Amid the rustlings of the campfire and the dirty can held warm between my hands. I imagined my scuffed up shoes would take me there, where a girl can get a second chance and seconds. Sojourner tree. Any tree can be a destination. That heart trunk held me above the fray and fraying collar. All summer in the sweet gum, its barbed seed all covered with weapon and conceal. High up as I could stand it, in the bleachers, I could see them all, stoned on psilocybin spore, the great mass of trees, reciting poetry in the wind, the heart-lung blues of the green. I learned to leave and leave it behind.
I went there, any tree, a final destination, a destiny carved in hearts, my initials on a tree trunk, my mind above it all, in a higher plane, protected from the wind and animals. Masculine heroine. I always wanted to be the hero, without a hat or my coonskin cap. My long trampled mane, my lioness flank, my tiny feet the size of paws, my ripped shirt and rolled up skirt, my bloodied knees. No one saw me as one, aiming my invisible guns, my weapon of choice, my words. No one heard me. No one felt my fury. No one tested my judgment. No court or courting controlled me. My imagination gave me masculine wings from my scrawniness, going into myself, out of my girl clothes, until. And I want to close with one from my first book, Emplumada. This is two poems in one called Lots. I've been spending years, actually, but all year and certainly months reading the Epstein files, case number by case number, photograph by photograph, video by video. It's something I've been researching actually for decades, since the 80s. So I've been thinking of this poem. And this is for the girls. This is for the survivors. Lots 1. The ally. This starts, there's a quote that's a paraphrase from the teachings of Don Juan from Carlos Castaneda. Consider the power of wrestling your ally. His will is to kill you. He has nothing against you. Lots 1. The ally. He told her, shut up and die. The bed of shrubs in the vacant lot listened and filled the fog with their tis, tis. She was so young. Only 2 years more than a child. She felt the flex of his arm before he touched her, the wind of his fist before he hit her. But it was the glint of steel at her throat that cut through to her voice. She would not be silent and still. She would live arrogantly, having wrestled her death and won. Lots 2. Herself. I picked myself up, ignoring whoever I was, slowly noticing for the first time my body's stench. I made a list in my head of all the names who could help me, and then meticulously I scratched each one. They won't hear me burning inside of myself. My used skin glistening. My first diamond.
Thank you. Another round of applause for Lorna Dee Cervantes. I was about to trip on that thing. I was like, if I don't move that right now. And now the moment you all have been waiting for. Our featured author of the evening, Rey M. Rodríguez, is a writer, advocate, and attorney. He lives in Pasadena, California. He is working on a novel set in Mexico City. His poetry collection, Todos Somos Sagrados, All Are Sacred, El Martillo Press, released May 2026. He has attended the Yale Writers Workshop and Palabras de Pueblo Workshop. He participated in Story Studio's Novel in a Year program. He graduated with an MFA in fiction from the Institute of American Indian Arts. His poetry is published in Misache, Anger is a Gift, and Altadena Poetry Review. His many interviews and book reviews can be found at La Volga, Poetry Houses, Storytellers Corner, Full Stop, Pallades Magazine, and the Los Angeles Review. He is a graduate of Cornell, Princeton, and UC Berkeley Law School. Please, everyone, a huge round of applause for Rey M. Rodríguez.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so privileged, just and honored that you all came out at a time when you could be doing so many of the things. And I was asked, "Am I nervous tonight?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm very reflective and kind of somewhat emotional. I've been part of Proyecto Pastoral for the last almost 34 years." So I've been on the board of directors for that time, and I've gone to these fancy schools, but my greatest teachers were really the women at Proyecto Pastoral that I was meeting. They were extraordinary, just incredible people. And about 2 years ago, when I got into the MFA program, the executive director of Archila said, "Well, why don't you write a history of Proyecto?" And I thought about it, and then I started reading poetry of Lady Long Soldier and M.S. Red Cherries, and these great indigenous writers. And M.S. Red Cherries in particular said, she wrote this book called Mother. And in that book, she talks about, like, they forced her to call it poetry. And what she said is, as Cheyenne, it's just the way I tell stories. So it was a way of commercializing, commodifying her story, but as an indigenous person, she felt like, this is how I want to tell the story. So what I felt like it would be very accessible to the community and everyone to hear the stories of these incredible women that are marginalized. And I'm just very grateful for each of the poets that have spoken, because what they have done, and I hope you got a taste of it, is that they articulate and they tell stories and poetry of people that are so important. And they protect us with their writing, because they tell the stories of people that need to be, their stories need to be told. And without their stories, and I just feel like in this moment of madness, where we just had a person murdered by ICE, Lorenzo Sapelo Arafo. How is that possible? How is it possible that we're living in a society where having men and women wearing masks coming through our communities and kidnapping our people? How is that possible? So I'm just so honored that I get to read with, William and with Jose and with Lorna. It's just, I have such gratitude for you. And I'm so privileged. I really don't feel like I deserve to be on the stage with you. It's extraordinary what you do. I mean, I know the work, I've written about your work, Jose and William and Lorna. I hope to write about your new book. But it's incredible the work that they do. So I hope you will buy their books, and I hope you will support them. So I just want to start off with a poem that'll give you a taste of really the women and what they've done. It's called Ver, Juzgar, Actuar. Hard work, always. Risky work, sometimes. Dangerous work, a veces. Where are the men? Were they too busy? Were they watching telenovelas? Were they just too tired? The women knew. They wouldn't give them cover either. Give a reasonable excuse for their absence. The answer surprised most. The women were unanimous. Son cobardes. Translation, they're cowards. The women did the seeing, the reflecting, and the acting at comunidades de base meetings. They knew the challenges facing the community. They needed to provide sanctuary for all migrants, cooking for homeless, building a child care center, creating a career path for moms to become teachers or child care providers, forcing politicians to do their jobs, provide desperately needed services to the community, like security, sanitation, education. Hard work, always. Risky work? Yeah, sometimes. Dangerous work, a veces. Organizing caminatas de paz every Friday, demanding peace in the neighborhood, confronting the police to stop harassing, brutalizing the children of Boyle Heights, to stop dropping off chamacos in rival gang territory to fend for themselves, alone, unprotected, in terror. Yes, hard work always. Risky work sometimes. Dangerous work a veces. Standing outside a funeral mass for a homie cut down way too soon. A rival gang members circled the church. Facing off gang members, lying in wait on street corners ready to jump kids and teenagers just trying to get to school. Taking guns and Uzis tucked beneath beds away from their sons. Wrapping them in blankets, delivering them to a priest. These women knew how hard the work was, always. They knew how risky the work was. They knew how dangerous the work was. And you know what? They did it anyway. One of the beautiful things about what these women have done is I like to use this idea of a garden. So there's a garden growing in Boyle Heights. And it isn't filled with plants and flowers like bleeding hearts, devil's backbones, Cupid's darts, angels' trumpets, fairy bells, lamb's ears, hens and chicks, earth stars, ghost pipes, mouse tails, sneeze weeds, naked ladies, or sundews. No. Instead, it's filled with jardineros, meseras, carpinteros, electricistas, plomeros, pintoras, trabajadores de la construcción, cocineras, meseras. They're nurturing love in a place where few could imagine anything could grow. Come inside this garden. It's a garden of second chances. It's a garden with no borders. It's a garden where the circle of compassion encompasses all, including those who choose not to enter. come inside this garden of men, women, children who, despite all odds, bloom. Some from the outside demonize this garden and the plants within, calling them vermin, poison, gang members, throwaway plants, invasive weeds. Instead of giving water, they give alcohol, fast food, drugs, and they try to flood the garden with this. Lead and poison posing as fertilizer threaten to sicken the garden. Missing books and a lack of resources in the schools threaten the children. And from a distance of privilege and disgust, they watch the suffering, existing for no other reason than man-made poverty, government red-line neighborhoods, a cradle-to-prison pipeline needing victims to fill its prison cells. In any other part of the city, quote, gang members would have a different name. We would call them who they are, children. But the garden is strong, built on the shoulders of immigrant women. They know how to plant. They know how to nurture. They know that everyone is divine. And in the garden, all who enter bloom. So, in honor of my teacher, Jose Hernandez Diaz, I'm going to read a prose poem that I wrote in one of his classes. And it serves as it kind of haunted me for many, many years. And it served as the genesis for, you saw the video of the woman who was talking about how she was given a chance to get housing. And this is a very, very hard poem, but it's also something that I think goes back to this idea that all of these stories need to be told. So it's entitled Socorro. I want to scream from frustration, but no sound escapes. I want to shape the sense into a city that forgets to feel, but my hands are seemingly tied on my lap because as much as I try to move them, they are immovable. All I can do is read that police are investigating yet another discovery of a human body under the 4th Street Bridge in downtown Los Angeles. She certainly did not fall from the structure. According to the LA police, the female body was discovered at 9:50 p.m. I try my best to raise my voice to announce the crime to the world, but I feel helpless. Who was she? Some say she was an immigrant from Guatemala. Others say she was an unhoused Mexican-American who had lost her apartment to rent increases in Boyle Heights and had tried to find shelter under the bridge. La pobre viejecita no tenía a nadie con quien confiar. Who was she? She must have screamed for help, but no sound was heard in the concrete tomb. A tear falls from my eye and lands in a pool of water formed from El Niño rains. She was a mother, a sister, a daughter to any one of us. Homicide detectives arrive on the scene to investigate. The age and identity of the victim are not immediately known, though she's presumed to be in her 70s. So the community rose up and they said, no mas, we need a place. So, one of the beautiful things about this book is that it's really a reflection of what Proyecto Pastoral is all about. It doesn't give charity. It gives it only wants to walk with people. So this book, in a sense, is a reflection of that because Jose Ramirez, he he donated the cover art, which is kind of extraordinary. He's done many murals for Dolores Mission, for Proyecto. Father Greg did the artwork. I had the privilege of meeting Marcelillo and David Romero, and they were kind enough to say, yeah, we'll publish your book. So that was incredible. And then Javier Morone, who's the translator for our meetings, our board meetings, he said, I'll help you translate. And it's really interesting that it's a group of men who have come together to donate everything that they have to kind of uplift these stories and to do this in such a way of just love. And I think what's really powerful about, what Raquel was saying is that it's really the power of love. And I think in this moment, we need that concept told even more as a counter narrative to all of this division, because we need each other. We need to be, we're interconnected. Without each other, we're nothing. So no one does this alone. And I certainly did not do this book alone. There's so many people, I thank my wife, Vivian, for, being with me all these years. My children, Diego and Pablo, it's like, we're all just interconnected. We're all folks that we just need each other. And I hope you'll support this book. And I am so grateful that you're all out here. I'm going to read a couple more poems and then we'll call it a night. One poem that I'd like to read is, it's called Remnants of Love. And, part 1. I felt sorry for myself at the passing of my mother and father, so I went to my Boyle Heights church. I sat down in a pew in Mission Dolores. It was the only place that I felt that gente lived the message of love and peace. At Mass, I asked myself why my parents had suffered so much in their lives. They were good, hardworking, decent people. Never hurt a soul. It was a mystery to me. I have no answers. Part 2. Next to me in the pew, I found a scrunched up piece of paper. I opened it up and discovered a poem. And it read, Entré a esta vida sin nada y saldré sin nada. Pero en estos momentos, entre la vida y la muerte, los gozaré, aunque la vida es dura. Porque vivir es un acto de resistencia contra todo el dolor y el odio y el mal. Y es todo lo que puedo hacer, es todo lo que puedo dar al mundo. Cuando de verdad no tengo más que dar, es mi vida. Part 3. I looked around and heard a woman complaining to her comadre. Why do we let these men sleep in the church? The whole place smells of urine and homelessness. Her comadre turned to her and responded, They are the remnants of love. But by the grace of God go we. We could be the ones who are without a home and in need of help. If you don't like the smell, then donate a cot so that the men can sleep on it, instead of on a hard wooden pew where we pray. Or offer to clean the church after Mass. The first woman remained quiet, and I reflected on the poem. We only have one life to live. Why not give all of it in service of others, through the joy and the sorrow? Part 4. The poet in the pew had offered a poem in return for a safe place to sleep. It was all that he had. But it was enough. His gift of living and writing a poem was an act of resistance against all the pain, hate, and evil he felt for being without a home. But it was enough. My parents had lived and suffered, but they had also made me feel loved. It was their gift of poetry to me, and it was more than enough. Their smiles and their love, I now have to give mine to others, and I pray that it's enough. I'm gonna do one that's called Huele a Patas, just to liven it up a little bit here. Huele a Patas, for some of you that may not know, means it smells of feet. So the church had a reddish carpet, and everyone complained, Huele a Patas! They lit incense, they spread out potpourri, they used I Love My Carpet. They vacuumed over and over again. And so then the fathers, Fernando, Tom, and Greg, they gathered to discuss. They decided to include the smell in their homilies. During their sermons, they would ask, hey, what does the church smell like? And a brave soul in the back would say, Huele a patas! 50 homeless men slept in the church. They slept on the floor night after night. And the priest asked, why invite so many? Why let the church smell of feet? And a woman in the choir responded, Es nuestro compromiso. And another woman in the middle of the church added, Es lo que haría Jesús. It is what Jesus would do while the U.S. destabilized countries to the south, millions of immigrants on the move to the north. He would make a commitment of sanctuary to those in need. He would do what this small church was doing. And near the end of the sermon, the priest asked, now what does the church smell like? And one little old lady in the back of the church, she was holding a rosary, whispered to the congregation, Huele a rosas. Okay, I'm going to end with the reason why I called this this book Todos Somos Sagrados is that a year ago, in June, when the ice raids really came in hard, they're still happening now, as of course we know, so it's not to be forgotten. The ice raids are really impacting us on just a daily basis. Proyecto Pastoral is at the forefront of this work to really provide services. I was there one night. I went to go, and there had been a man who was kidnapped by ICE, and his flower stand was left there. And so Proyecto Pastoral gathered all the flowers that had been left there, and they asked if people would give money to them so that they could collect money to give to the family. They had to find the family, and they had to find him. That's the world that we're living in. It's just the insanity of this. But Proyecto is right there. And then the lineage fight just happened. And Proyecto is right there. No one is really speaking up for the people that are living in Boyle Heights, all of these different organizations in Boyle Heights. So last year, around June, Karen Bass brought together a lot of folks, and Father Brendan was asked to speak. And he said, he posed a question. Either we're all sacred or no one is sacred. And that's the title of my book. Todos Somos, we're all sacred. So this poem, it was close out the night, and it's in conversation with Father Brendan. Dolores Mission, Los Padres, Proyecto Pastoral, Homeboy Industries, Rosa, and the other mothers posed the question through their work. Are we all sacred, or is no one sacred? If we are all sacred, the radical act of loving your neighbor as oneself se ve, se juzga, y se aplica to the world we live in through our acts of kindness, forgiveness, and care for others, even for those we consider our enemies. Just like the women saw the homeless and they examined how to serve them and created a shelter, when they discerned the need for childcare and they built a center, when they put out on green t-shirts to protect children from violence while heading to school, when they treated all the lost children in their community as their own, when they asked, what would Jesus do? When they taught a city and a world how to love. If no one is sacred, then we simply scream and rage at each other, seeing the worst in each other while we all suffer. Then a 60-year-old woman, unhoused former teacher, rides a bus all night up and down Olympic Boulevard, sitting behind the bus driver for safety, instead of having a warm place to live. Then a child suffering from cancer waits for treatment that will never come. Research has been unfunded by an uncaring government. If we're all sacred, then men, women, children play in green places where concrete once ruled. Gardens bloom in spring, tilled by worn migrant workers' hands. All living things are honored and preserved. If no one is sacred, then we allow lead from a battery company to poison our communities. We defund our national parks. We let untreated sewage pollute our oceans. If we're all sacred, we work towards a world of justice, peace, and divine love for one another. We embrace all reparations for pain inflicted in the past. We give land back. When we walk in awe of the marginalized, where migrants are welcomed, and we grant a path of belonging, and the drug addict is given treatment instead of prison, and the prisoner is rehabilitated and prison walls removed. If no one is sacred, then masked men with military-style guns barge into homes without warrants, tie elderly women with zip ties, and they separate babies from parents. They kidnap neighbors without due process to rot and sometimes die in detention camps. They spend billions on a worthless wall and wake up in a country where, as Herzog says, a third of the people would kill another third while the other third watches. If we're all sacred, we forgive 70 times, 7 times. We recognize that we are all riding on a world protected with a thin film of air, moving around the sun together. We need each other. Nothing separates us. We are interconnected. If no one is sacred, then we show no mercy to a 10-year-old Guatemalan child fleeing violence, a passenger on La Bestia across Mexico, an unaccompanied minor. She will be denied a lawyer to represent her in immigration court and be deported. If we are all sacred, we model humility. We build a culture of service for each other. We wash the feet of those who suffer. We feed the hungry, protect the young, care for the elderly, as all Proyecto moms and women teach us. If no one is sacred, then the white supremacy reigns. A virus of ethnic and racial cleansing emerges. People walk the streets with nowhere to live, begging for food. Prisons overflow. Children cry, missing their deported parents. Ignorance abounds. Schools don't teach. Veins collapse from filthy syringes. Alcohol numbs trauma, but never heals. If we're all sacred, we choose peace over violence, joy over envy, reciprocity over selfishness, kindness over cruelty, solidarity over division, humane acts versus inhumane ones, harmony over chaos, balance over imbalance, and love over hate. We need each other. Nothing separates us. We're all interconnected. All are sacred.
One more round of applause for Rey M. Rodríguez. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We have the authors' books in the bookstore. And we're also going to take a lot of beautiful photos of the authors this evening. So please hang around for that. Thank you all again so much for being here. Good night.
Viv? Hi, it's Stacy. Oh my gosh, thank you for coming.
Oh, of course. I wouldn't have missed this for the world.
This is so fantastic. It's such a long time.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. You still live around here, like in Santa Monica?
I live in Santa Monica, and so I'm in. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you still working as a library,
I
still working at Paul Hastings?
wasn't working at Paul Hastings.